Well, we have a couple of really good ones here. And this first one is, is our heart being in it enough?
I feel like we're coming out swinging on this one. I feel like I need to say first, because I know exactly where some people are probably going in their minds. We're not devaluing by answering this question. We're not overvaluing or devaluing. It's not should your heart be in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your heart being in it enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think, it is a little punchy. It's a little
Yeah.
punchy to consider. But I mean, Brian, we go back to what we were just talking about, right? When back in the day, you didn't have all these resources, you didn't have any crutches to lean on. And I was talking about like the requirement of being present in those moments and how much more present you could be because what you were doing, playing or singing or otherwise, you knew what was coming. It was internalized, and you were ready to meet the challenge, to meet the day, no matter what it took. I mean, what's your answer to that question, Brian? I'm gonna throw you in the hot seat a bit and say, is our heart being in it enough?
I think it has to be both. And I
Mm,
mean, do you want your heart in it? Of course,
yes.
of course you do, but you also want to, I mean, Colossians 3, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart
Yes.
as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you'll receive an inherit, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. So you want it to be, you want it to, it's your offering, I mean, we want to offer the best that we have. And, I think you have said on here before, that's kind of scalable,
Hmm.
like, um, it's going to look different. The best you have to offer is going to look different from person to person, from
Yes.
place to place. But, honoring the Lord by offering your best, but golly, you of course you want your heart to be in it, but man, okay. So can you say your heart is in it if you're not working in it?
I don't know. Would your spouse say your heart was in your marriage if you were never spending any time, never going on any dates, never having any conversations, never working on it? How long would but my heart is in it
Yeah. Ooh.
fix the
Oof.
issues? Probably not very
Probably
long.
not very long.
Um
That old thing where I told her I loved her, and if it
yeah.
ever changes, I'll let you know, or whatever. Yeah,
Yes.
you got to be working at that.
Yeah. I'm thinking about like, so Jesus says he's talking about I think Matthew 6 or so around there. Don't quote me, but I think it's somewhere around Matthew 6, where he's talking about not storing up yourself treasures on earth where the moth and the rust destroy, but
Yep.
store up in heaven. He says,
Yep.
for where your treasure is, there your heart will
Yeah.
be
Yep.
also. And like, so the flip side of that is if you want to know where your heart is, look at where your treasure is, look at where you're investing, look at where your resources are going. And I would say if you're not putting in resource, if you're not considering it to be a treasured opportunity to do what you and I get to do when we get to serve on the weekends, or whether it's leading worship or in a control room behind a camera, if you're not investing in that thing, then I would agree with you. I don't think we can say our hearts are in it. Maybe we are intending good. We're intending to be invested, but until you're actually putting the time and effort into it, my go-to verse, even though it's not describing David as a worship leader, for the last 20 years, one of the verses I've kept in my mind, Psalm 78:72, David shepherded with integrity of heart and led with skillful hands. And I think that winning combo is a prepared heart and prepared hands. Just the easiest way to demonstrate, like, I'm taking what I know, what I believe, and I'm putting it into practice. Because when you put it into practice, you are demonstrating. It's like a follow through. And I think it's important for us to prepare both of the, for our hearts to be prepared and invested. And we demonstrate, as scripture says, like faith without works is dead. Like you want me to evaluate your faith. You want to show me your faith. Show me what you're doing with it.
Yep.
Show me how you're putting it into practice. And so, yeah, I think it's challenging for all of us because none of us have enough time. None of us have enough resource. I'm sure there's all kinds of things vying for our attention. But if our yes is going to be yes, then we have to be willing to do the things that are required to show up at the absolute best we can. You're right, Brian. Like you said, the excellence scales.
Yeah.
We have talked about that before. And I always go back to the parable of talents. The master did not scold the person who had 2 for not turning them into 10. It was the only one that got scolded was the one that buried their potential, buried what they had. Everybody else was given according to their ability, scripture says, and celebrated for their diligence and stewardship of whatever they were given.
Yeah.
And so you might not have what you think you could have or should have, but the answer is, what are you going to do with what you do have in your hand right now? How can you double that? How can you increase that? How can you invest in that?